The Japanese culture is rich in traditions and social norms that, while they may seem strange or rigid, embody the essence of living harmoniously in a collectivist society. In Japan, respect for others, discretion, and harmony are central values that are reflected in many aspects of daily life. In this video, we will explore 10 taboos, analyzing their significance and the importance they hold in the lives of the Japanese people. Number 10. Speaking loudly on public transportation. Silence on public transportation in Japan is a deeply ingrained social norm, reflecting respect for others' privacy and tranquility. Japanese culture is collectivist, meaning that the harmony of the group is often considered more important than individual needs. Speaking loudly or talking on the phone on trains, buses, or subways is seen as a disruption of this harmony. In large cities like Tokyo and Osaka, where people live in dense and crowded environments, public transportation is one of the few spaces where a bit of peace can be found during the day. People use these moments to read, sleep, or simply reflect, so any excessive noise is considered intrusive. Even the signs on trains often politely ask passengers to avoid phone conversations and to keep their phones in silent mode. This attention to silence reflects the broader concept of meiwaku, which means not disturbing or causing trouble to others. The concept of meiwaku is central to daily life in Japan and guides many social behaviors, from interactions on public transportation to managing neighborly relations. Number 9. Not taking off your shoes. In Japan, removing your shoes at the entrance of a house is a tradition rooted in concepts of purity and hygiene, derived from Shinto beliefs. Shintoism, Japan's native religion, places a strong emphasis on spiritual and physical purity. The distinction between the outside world, seen as impure and chaotic, and the inside of the house, considered sacred and orderly, is fundamental. Removing shoes is not just a matter of cleanliness, but a symbolic act of respect and purification. In traditional Japanese homes, the floor is often covered with tatami, mats made of woven straw, which can easily be damaged or dirtied if stepped on with shoes. Entering a house with shoes on not only risks dirtying the tatami, but also breaks a symbolic barrier between the outside and the inside. This custom extends to public spaces like ryokan and some restaurants, where people are required to change into provided slippers. In some cases, there are even special slippers for use in the bathroom, further emphasizing the care for hygiene and the separation of spaces. Number 8. Placing chopsticks vertically in rice. The act of sticking chopsticks vertically into a bowl of rice is one of the most well-known and respected taboos in Japan. This is because it resembles a funeral rite called shinji, in which a bowl of rice with chopsticks standing upright is offered to the deceased during memorial services. This rite is part of Japanese Buddhist traditions, where food is offered to the spirits of ancestors during funeral ceremonies. Doing the same gesture in a daily context is considered bad luck and can evoke thoughts of death, creating an unpleasant atmosphere during a meal. Additionally, passing food from one pair of chopsticks to another is another taboo gesture, as it resembles the passing of bones during cremation ceremonies. These traditions reflect the seriousness with which the Japanese treat death and the respect they have for the deceased. Eating is considered sacred and connected to life, so it is important to avoid any gesture that might inappropriately evoke death. Number 7. Pointing a finger at someone. In many cultures, pointing a finger can be considered rude or aggressive, but in Japan, this gesture carries an even stronger connotation. Pointing a finger is perceived as a direct and intrusive act that violates personal space and makes the other person feel uncomfortable. Japanese culture values indirectness and moderation in social interactions, preferring more discreet and less confrontational gestures. When Japanese people need to indicate a direction or a person, they often use their entire hand with the palm facing upwards, or they point more subtly with a nod of the head or a glance. This attitude stems from the importance of maintaining harmony in social relationships and the desire to avoid conflicts or embarrassing situations. It is deeply ingrained in Japanese society and is reflected in many aspects of daily life, from the language, which is rich in indirect expressions, to physical gestures. The goal is always to avoid embarrassing or inconveniencing someone, thus preserving the harmony of the group. Number 6. Blowing your nose in public. In Japan, blowing your nose in public is seen as an act of bad manners and a lack of consideration for others. This behavior is considered particularly inappropriate in formal settings or during meals. Instead of blowing their nose, Japanese people prefer to sniffle slightly to avoid drawing attention to themselves. When it is necessary to blow one's nose, people usually go to a private place, such as a bathroom, to do so discreetly. This practice is related to the concept of kekko, which means avoiding exposing others to potentially embarrassing or unpleasant situations. Discretion and moderation are highly valued in Japanese culture, and this is reflected in how personal hygiene matters are handled. Even tissues are used discreetly. They should never be exposed after use, but immediately put away. This attitude also extends to personal grooming in public. Japanese people avoid gestures considered inelegant or intrusive, such as combing their hair or applying makeup in public. Number 5. Not respecting cues. In Japan, respecting cues is a fundamental principle that reflects social order and harmony. Cues are seen as a microcosm of Japanese society, where equality and mutual respect are valued. Everyone in line is treated equally, regardless of their social status or urgency. Cutting in line is viewed as an act of selfishness that violates the unwritten rules of civil coexistence. This behavior is particularly frowned upon in a country where public order and discipline are highly respected. In emergency situations or crowded places like train stations or shopping centers, the ability to form and respect orderly cues is a sign of social maturity and respect for the common good. This concept of order also extends to other areas of daily life, such as respecting others' time, as punctuality is very important in Japan, and maintaining order in public spaces, such as proper waste management. Respecting cues is therefore a way to contribute to the maintenance of social harmony, a central value in Japanese culture. Number 4. Touching someone's head. In Japan, the head is considered the most sacred and private part of the body, and touching it without permission is seen as an invasion of personal space. This taboo has deep roots in religious and cultural beliefs. In Shintoism, the head is viewed as the place where the spirit resides and is therefore highly respected. Similarly, in Buddhist culture, which has had a significant influence on Japan, the head is considered the highest point of the body, symbolically close to the heavens and thus sacred. Touching an adult's head is particularly discouraged, as it can be interpreted as a gesture of superiority or dominance. While touching a child's head might seem affectionate in other cultures, in Japan it is done with great caution. Japanese parents may touch their children's heads as a sign of affection, but strangers avoid doing so out of respect for personal boundaries. This taboo reflects the broader respect for physical integrity and individual privacy, a fundamental principle in Japanese society. Number 3. Lack of attention to gifts. The ritual of gift-giving in Japan is complex and deeply rooted in the culture. Giving and receiving gifts is a way to express gratitude, build relationships, and maintain social balance. When receiving a gift, it is important to accept it with both hands, a gesture that symbolizes respect and appreciation. This gesture is often accompanied by a bow, which varies in depth depending on the context and the relationship between the people involved. Opening the gift immediately in front of the giver is generally considered impatient or rude, as it may put the giver in an uncomfortable position if the gift is not appreciated. Instead, the gift is usually set aside to be opened privately, allowing the recipient to express their appreciation in a more thoughtful and considerate manner. After opening the gift, it is common to formally thank the giver, sometimes even sending a thank you note. This approach to gift-giving reflects the value that Japanese people place on modesty and respect for others' feelings. The choice of gift is also carefully considered. It should be appropriate to the context and the relationship between the people, and Japanese people often prefer gifts that can be consumed or used, avoiding overly personal or expensive items. Number 2. Not bathing before entering an onsen. Onsens, or hot springs, are a central part of Japanese culture and represent a place of relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Before entering a communal bath in an onsen, it is essential to wash thoroughly at one of the provided showers. This is not only a matter of hygiene but also of respect for other bathers. The ritual of cleaning before entering the bath reflects the importance of purity in Japanese culture. Onsen water is considered sacred and therapeutic, and keeping it clean is a priority. Failing to follow this rule is seen as extremely rude and may lead to a reprimand from staff or other users. Onsen baths are often small and shared by many people, so maintaining clean water is essential for the comfort and safety of all. Towel use is also regulated by specific norms. A large towel is used for washing and drying outside the bath, while a small towel is often used to cover one's private parts while moving around the onsen but should never touch the bath water. This attention to detail reflects the importance of cleanliness and respect for others that characterizes Japanese society. Number 1. Displaying visible tattoos in an onsen. In Japan, tattoos have a long history associated with organized crime, particularly the Yakuza. For this reason, many public facilities, such as onsens and swimming pools, prohibit entry to individuals with visible tattoos. This restriction stems from the fact that tattoos were traditionally used as identifying marks by Yakuza members, making them a symbol of rebellion and criminality. Although the perception of tattoos is slowly changing, especially among younger generations and due to the influence of foreign cultures, the taboo remains strong in many traditional contexts. Some onsens have started to allow entry to people with tattoos, provided they are covered with special stickers, but it is always advisable to check the specific rules of the place in advance. This taboo reflects the tension between modernity and tradition in Japan, where traditional values coexist with the growing influence of global cultures. Despite the changes, respect for social norms and sensitivity towards others remains a central value, and visible tattoos continue to be perceived with caution in many public contexts. Understanding and respecting these norms is essential for anyone who wishes to live in or visit Japan, as these practices reflect values deeply rooted in the country's history and tradition. That said, I hope I've provided you with a clear and in-depth look at some of the most significant taboos in Japanese culture. Stay tuned for more interesting insights in our upcoming videos. See you soon.